I wonder who's on diaper duty at Barbie's house. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, I'm Stella and I love making miniatures for my Barbie's dollhouse using Millie cardstock. In today's video, I'll show you how to make this miniature changing table, plus some accessories for your dolls, and as always, I have a free printable template to help you make your own version. You'll find all the infos and the download link in the video, so now let's get started. Cut this part of the template 4 or 5 times and glue them together to get to a final piece that's around 3mm thick. And we'll have to make 2 of these. Next, cut this part 3 or 4 times and once again stack all the layers together. As usual, I suggest using cardstock from old packaging for this project, since it's easy to cut, sturdy, and we all typically have plenty of it at home. However, if you want to make the process faster, you can switch to a thicker material like mat board, balsa wood, or plywood. Now cut this piece twice and attach the 2 elements to the top and bottom parts of the panel we just assembled. Then cut this part and glue it in between the previous 2. There should be a 3mm gap between each one of these rectangles. Final panel should measure roughly 3mm in thickness. Repeat the steps to make another identical one. Next, cut this part 4 or 6 times and attach the layers in 2 groups, each approximately 2mm thick. Finally, cut this part twice and glue the 2 sides together. At this point, we should have all these elements. Cover them with 1 or 2 layers of acrylic gesso. I love using acrylic gesso for my paper miniatures because it improves their sturdiness and helps maintain a consistent color and texture, even when working with different types of cardstock in various hues. And as always, my little trick when dealing with painted cardstock is to sandwich all the painted pieces between 2 layers of kitchen paper and let them rest under a heavy book for a few hours. This will soak up all the humidity in the paint and help the cardstock stay flat, preventing it from bending over time. We can now begin to assemble the first part of our miniature changing table. Start by attaching one of the sides to the top, then glue the middle panels in place, attach the opposite side, the bottom part, and finally the back. I also chose to smooth out the unevenness in some of the edges by applying a bit of spackle, although this is entirely optional. To make the changing table's legs, cut this part a dozen times and glue all the layers in 2 groups, each roughly 4mm thick. Cover the legs with acrylic gesso first, then paint them in a light brown shade to mimic the look of wood. Optionally, you can give the legs a slightly glossy finish by coating them with a touch of clear varnish. Glue legs to the bottom of the changing table, this way. To make the drawers, cut this part 4 or 5 times and attach all the layers together until you get to a final piece that's around 3mm thick. Repeat the same process for this part, which we'll have to make twice. And if you're using my free printable template, I suggest you pierce this little hole with an awl. Next, cut this part 3 or 4 times and stack the layers to get to a final piece that's roughly 2mm in thickness. We'll have to make 3 of these. Repeat the same steps for this part, which we'll have to make 4 times. Then these 2, and we'll need to make 2 of each. And finally this one. Cover all these pieces with a couple layers of acrylic gesso. And just as we did earlier, let them rest under a heavy book to straighten them. To make handles for our drawers, we're gonna need a couple of toothpicks and beads. I chose these cute little wooden beads, and I'll link them in the description if you want to get them, but any other type of small bead will do the job. Slide a toothpick into a bead, trim it, and since I wanted a handle to match the color of the changing table's legs, I painted it with the same shade of brown acrylic. Glue the handles into the holes on the drawer's front sides. Then trim and sand the part of the toothpick that's sticking out. I used my rotary tool since it makes the job faster, but a nail file will work just as well. Time to assemble the drawers. Glue the front side to the bottom part, then attach the sides, and finally the back. Repeat this process for all 3 drawers. To make a little changing table pad, cut this part into a lightweight kind of cardstock. And just a reminder, if you have a Cricut or a silhouette cutting machine, you can use my digital templates, which you can find in my shop, linked in the description box. Fold the sides along these lines. Then glue all the tabs. and finally cover this little mattress with a piece of fabric, fixing it in place with double-sided tape or white glue. Next, cut this part 3 or 4 times and stack layers together until you reach a thickness of approximately 2 mm. Repeat the same step for this part, which we'll have to make twice, and this one that we'll have to make 3 times. Cover all the pieces with acrylic gesso first. And then with brown acrylic paint to give it a wood-like finish. Set these 2 pieces aside for a moment and assemble the remaining 4 this way. Now, place the little mat we prepared earlier inside the frame, glue this part right next to it, and finally this one here. If you want, you can coat the frame with a touch of clear gloss varnish to make it look a little shiny. And you can glue the finished piece to the top of the changing table, but I suggest you don't, because this way you can transform it into a dresser at any time. You know, for when your little doll baby grows up. We can finally start working on some accessories for our miniature changing table. To make a box of diapers, print and cut this part. And I actually made 3 different versions for you to choose from. Then fold all the sides along these lines. And by the way, I got a lot of questions about what kind of printer I used to get these IRS prints, so I'll have it linked in the description in case you want to check it out. Glue all the sides, and if you want to fill the box with diapers, leave the top open. We can keep it shut temporarily using a small piece of clear tape. Next, print and cut this part. Then take a piece of paper towel, fold it over itself several times, and cut it so that it's around 1.5 centimeters long and 1 centimeter wide. Glue the paper towel to the unprinted part of the diaper. Then fold the diaper in half and use a pair of tweezers to scrunch up its edges this way. Finally, glue the diaper closed. To make a diaper that you can open, glue the print to a piece of paper towel, trim it, then gently fold the edge and sides inwards. Lastly, fold the diaper in half. To make a lotion tube, print and cut this part, then attach its 2 sides like this. Press the bottom of the tube to give it a rounded shape, then put some glue along the top edge and pinch it to flatten it. And if you're using photo paper like I did, I suggest you peel away the back so that the paper is lighter and easier to shape. Now cut this little circle and glue it to the bottom of the tube. And I've included 3 different lotion designs in the template, so you can pick your favorite. To make a pack of baby wipes, print and cut this part. Make sure you also cut this line in the center. Fold the paper along these lines. Then print and cut this part, slide it into the slit in the base, and finally fix this little tab to the back. To make the wipes, I used a cotton wipe, however a paper napkin or even toilet paper will work. Cut the wipe into 4 smaller pieces, all approximately 2 centimeters per side. Take one of the 4 tiny wipes, fold it like this. Then take another wipe and sandwich it between the 2 sides of the previous one. Repeat the same process for all the little wipes. Then place them in their packaging and close it by gluing the 2 ends this way. Next, put some glue all around the left and right edges and pinch them with a pair of tweezers to close them. If you don't need to make a working pack of baby wipes, you can simplify the process by stuffing the pack with a single piece of paper towel, fold it over itself several times and cut to size. And then you can simply glue the lid to the top of the pack so that it will be easier to keep it closed. And the second part of my miniature dollhouse nursery is ready. As promised, here's the link to the free printable template. And if you want to make a miniature crib for your dolls, you should try this project next. And this is all for today's video. Until next time, bye!